What's up, hackers? Welcome to Chill Code. My name is Taggart, and tonight we are going to both chill and code, but chill only in the spiritual sense. It is a bajillion million degrees here in the Southland. Killer asks, do we get a redeem for Solve the Lock? Maybe you should check the stream rewards section. Right off the bat. All right, Ginge. Yeah, so as a test, we're gonna try this. I did this like really early in my streaming. We'll try this again. We'll see how it goes. So Ginge just redeemed pick a lock, and so I shall. Basically, here's how this is gonna go. I have like a bunch of locks next to me. And as we go, we'll do progressively harder locks. So I will start with the baby lock, the one that's transparent so you can see the pins. This is the training lock that you do to get good. Next, we'll do the safety lockout lock. This thing has like 3 pins in it or something. I don't even know why Master Lock sells this. You might as well just put a please don't steal this sign on whatever you're doing. Up next comes this. I love Master Locks because they're so easy to come by. This circular Master Lock, which again, it looks hardcore, but it only has 4 pins in it and they're all straight pins, so it's actually not that tough. Up next, we'll do the famous Master Lock 140. Doing this with single pin picking is actually tricky, but if you do it with a rake or a comb, it's a no-brainer. And then up next, this is probably my favorite Master Lock, is the 570. There's some interesting stuff going on in here. There are a couple of mushroom pins in here, so you can get some false sets. Those can be fun. And then, last but not least, this thing. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to do this one. The Master Lock 530. This thing is actually reinforced and has a spring-loaded core. All of that stuff. All right, so we've got 2 redeems, so I'll try to do 2 locks. So that'll be first the baby lock and then the safety lockout. And for my picks, I will be using the Southord basic pick. I like the Southords because they're thin, but they're resilient, and also they're crazy affordable. So that's going to be part 1, and then I will be using this Sparrow's top of the keyway tension tool. I really like the knurling on it. It's really good for grip, and I'm left-handed, so it's good. It's a little bit harder for me to do this. So for those of you who are interested in getting started, here's how we're going to do this. We're going to take the top of the keyway wrench and put it in, and then I'm going to I like using my middle finger as the fulcrum, and then we're going to use that kind of to balance it right in there, and then we're going to apply a little pressure to the cylinder as we press the pins into place. Let's see. 1 set, 2 set, 3, 4, 5, I think 6 is my problem child here. Come on. There we go. And there's an open. I'm not trying to, but as soon as I do this, I feel like I'm going into lockpicking lawyer. Maybe it's not possible to Maybe it's not possible to do lockpicking on video without becoming lockpicking lawyer. I should only be so lucky. All right, for the safety lockout, I may go to another tension wrench. I'll try it with the top of the keyway. This one's a little bit funky. You can see, so you can do bottom of the keyway. And as a lefty, I like to use a little bit of a different bottom of the keyway tension wrench. Because generally what you'll see for bottom of the keyway is the is the windshield wiper tension wrench, right? But I hate that. Instead, I like to use this Z-bar. It's really, really stiff, and it allows me to get tension at a reasonable angle. All right. So I'll try the Z-bar this time. You can see, like, because I'm left-handed, right, this makes a lot more sense. If you're doing it right-handed, you're holding the lock this way. You could just use the thumb that way, but I can't do that, so... All right, here we go. I should probably try to get the lock somewhere so the mic can pick anything up. All right, that's 2. Oh. I think I messed myself up here. Let's see. Bottom of the keyway may not have been the right choice for this. It's been a while since I've actually done any lock picking. Okay. Top of the keyway it is. So that's actually why I love this top of the keyway, because it has 2 lengths, right? For anything that's inside of the lock body, you can use this longer side here. What was my process of learning lock picking? So, like a lot of people, I got started at a tool event when I went to Hope in 2018 and did the trials there. And then I got hooked and just like bought myself some starter lock picks and found found some padlocks online. And that was kind of it. And just kept practicing. Watched a bunch of lockpicking lawyer to understand the theory. This one's being weirdly annoying. Let's reset here. The angle of this might be a little bit persnickety. I don't usually suspend the lock above my head as I pick it. And then, yeah, just practice all the time. So basically what I would do, and still do sometimes, is like I have all these locks in a bowl in the living room with the picks. And so, like, if I'm done with computers or whatever for the night, I will... Come on, man. Hey, buddy. Maybe I do need bottom of the keyway for this. Yeah, I thought about bringing the piano camera over, but it's a little bit unwieldy. We'll try it this way. This thing's usually such an easy open. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Well, you're getting your 5,000 points worth. There we go. Had a false set on this one. I didn't even know that was possible. There we go. There's our open. Okay. And drop the pick. That's a crucial part of the process, is dropping the pick someplace where you can't reach it. I didn't even have to go cheat mode. Cheat mode is my Sparrow's Bogota rake. This thing will just open locks. Okay, what do you say we actually do some code? Now that my wrists are exhausted. Okay, so the plan for tonight is to add a feature to OffensiveNotion, our little C2 framework that uses the Notion note-taking app as its substrate. One of the shortcomings of doing that has been one of the shortcomings of doing that has been that if you can't upload with the Notion API. So like if you have a Notion notebook, right, as I do, you can upload files to it from its client, but what it's doing secretly in the background is it's uploading stuff to an S3 bucket and then providing you the link to the S3 bucket, or the blob in the S3 bucket. You don't actually send stuff to Notion. Okay, so that distinction means that I cannot use the Notion API, which I'm using for everything else in OffensiveNotion, right? I cannot use it to upload files back from the target. So I had to come up with some other way to do that. So basically, my plan was to do it the exact same way. Was to create an S3 upload command, which I've done. S3 is done. So the way that the S3 upload works is that you need to give it in the command a few things. You need to give it kind of like a lot of information, more than, like, this isn't, from an OPSEC perspective, let me put it this way. As soon as you're done with the engagement, you should blow away that S3 bucket because, and frankly, the IAM user that you created to deal with it, because the stuff that you're giving to the agent, if for whatever reason it's captured in a memory snapshot or whatever, or SSL decrypted, right, through a proxy or something like that, your host, because they'll have your AWS access key ID and secret access key. But you need to have those things in order to use the S3 API. So then you give it a region, a bucket name, and then the file to upload. So it's kind of a verbose command. I don't love it, but it's kind of as good as it gets to do an upload. So the usage is like this. It's S3 upload, then the access key ID, secret access key, the region, the bucket name, and the file name. And I would recommend, if you were doing this during an engagement, just kind of pre-gaming all this in some text that you can copy and paste in the Notion page that you have running, so that it's easy to get at when you're ready to upload a file. Once that's done, though, this thing just does some sanity checks to make sure that all of the args are here. I actually love this structure, I have to tell you. This loop right here doesn't look like much, but what's going on right here is making sure that all of the arguments are present. And this, so notice that what I have up here, this argvals, is a vec of mutable strings, which is where we're going to store the data, and then it strs that we are using to describe said data, right? And what I do, this is just a fun little validation procedure that I'm quite happy with. So what happens is, as this thing gets its arguments in, what it's going to do, which is parsed from Notion, right? Because we send in this string. And by the time this command, the handle function, gets this, what it has is an iterator of arguments that should look like these in turn. But if it doesn't, how do we deal with that? So because it was so many different arguments, I was like, I need to write a new kind of arg parser for this. So we create this set of tuples, right? It's a vec, but the vec is a vec of tuples of type mutable string and string ref. And I'm just describing these. Then I loop through each one of them, I loop through that vec, and I'm making sure that there is such a thing, like there's a next arg, right? So I'm looping through those args, and I'm getting command args.nth. This is a little bit funky if you're not used to reading Rust. So command args is an iterator. Iterators are things you can loop over, but they also have this method called nth. What nth will do is return and consume up to the nth object in the iterator. So almost like a reader cursor, right? So by the time, if you ask for the second thing in it, you will have consumed up to and including the second thing in the iterator. So every time through the loop, by calling nth 0, it's like calling next in Python. So I'm getting that thing, and nth returns an option. So I don't know yet if it's present or not. That's what this structure if let sum is all about. And this is something that if you're new to Rust, this is a pattern you want to get used to, because this is how you fix unwrap hell. Okay, it's one way to fix unwrap hell. One of the things about OffensiveNotion is that you can't, like, it can never die. It can never panic, right? So if you look through it, there's only, I wonder how many there are. There's probably, okay, so there are some unwraps, but they tend to be on pretty safe places, and places where we need them, like in unsafe code where there's nothing else we can do. But generally speaking, we avoid unwraps like the plague, and we do it because every unwrap is an opportunity for the thing to panic and fail. So here, we're checking to confirm that there is a next argument. And then what we're doing is we're saying, okay, that's what this arg value is. We only debug log that, which means if the logger level is set to 0, which is it is in production, then this doesn't show up anywhere. And then this part is kind of cool. Remember that we have this mutable string, which is totally empty right now, right? We deref it and we assign it the value of whatever the argument is, if there is an argument to be found. Otherwise, we return out of the handle function entirely and say, hey, you're missing this argument. So this is kind of a sanity check to make sure all of the arguments are present before we actually do the work. Another fun quirk of AWS is that in order to use it, you have to set, there is no other option, environment variables for the access key ID and secret access key. You have to do that. So we do. Now, here's a question for the defenders, the incident responders. Does this mean that if I were looking at environment variables on the system at the time, that would show up? Any takers? Tough crowd tonight. Anyway, the answer is no, because we're setting the environment for the process, not for the user. Okay, so if you were watching, like with Procmon at the time, you would see it happen, but otherwise it's not going to show up anywhere globally. So we set the environment variables, and then we set the region. We load in the file. We turn it into a byte stream. This is some AWS stuff right here. Byte stream is its own struct. And then we send it with the put object method with all of the data that we've collected already. And then we do some cleanup. We remove the AWS access key and the secret access key. And then res is handily a result. So again, we key off of that result, which is either an OK or an error. If it's an OK, we use the Notion out macro to return the string file uploaded, and then we format the link to the resource with an S3 URL. So no, you can't upload it directly to the Notion page, but you can get a link to it that's actually pretty handy. And one thing I still have to do, I think, is modify our outbound traffic so that if it is of type upload, then it'll make a proper hyperlink, which is kind of cool, and then maybe embed it. All right, so that's like prior work. That's what we've already done. Now for Azure, because I want to support both AWS and Azure, first of all, because of how totally verbose this command was, I wasn't about to do just a single upload command that took optionally Azure or S3. It was just going to be wacky to try to handle that in both cases. So instead, I'm making a new command called azupload. Azupload is going to follow the same basic pattern, but it will work differently because the SDK works differently. If we go to Azure's Rust stuff, the first thing we'll know is we have to add some things to our cargo.toml. So we'll do that. We'll add Azure Core and at least Azure Storage blobs. I'm pretty sure those are the two we'll need. So to cargo.toml. Yeah. So we'll add Azure down here, Azure Core, and Azure Storage blobs. Awesome. So we'll just save those out and let Rust Analyzer do its thing. There it is. And then let's go get some docs. What can we do with Azure Storage blobs? Right, so there's a container and then there's a blob. Current send, no. This isn't super helpful. Container. So this is a container, but the container will, in theory, should have blobs. Structs, block list, blob. It supports Azure Blob Storage. Here are examples. I'll look at some examples. How hard could it possibly be to upload things? Put block blob. Yeah, okay. So we're going to use Azure Storage Core Prelude, which we knew. Azure Storage Blobs Prelude. So actually kind of similar, right? It looks like we're going to have to do some environment variables, right? The storage account and the storage access key. Those are the two. Right, so we'll have to provide the storage account and the storage access key. No problems there. And then container name and blob name. So actually, it is pretty similar. And then bytes is getting loaded from bytes, which if we're not using, we will. It would be insane that we're not using bytes already as a dependency. Looks like no. That's interesting. And then put block blob, which we saw, right? Oh, I was here. I was already here. So, oh, it's the blob client, which comes from storage client. Reading Azure Docs is, or reading Rust Docs is most of the fun. There we go. So it returns a storage client. Storage client, new access key. Storage client is what? So it's part of Azure Storage. Not Azure Storage blobs. Oh. Interesting. So this may be an incomplete list. Let's look for Azure Storage here in crates. Hey! So this is what we actually want. We have Azure Storage and Azure Storage blobs, but this example shows us Azure Storage and Azure Storage blobs. Oh, that might be all I need then. I might not need Azure Core. Interesting. That'll be an implied dependency, but not an explicit dependency. Okay. So now that we're in the right Azure Storage, yeah, this makes more sense. Yeah, this makes sense, right? The storage client can do what now? It can do... put block blob is what we want to see. Interesting. There it is. So it's the blob client. Creates a new block blob or updates the contents. So whatever it is, I don't know if we're going to need bytes for this. Because into body, right? It's oh, no, just kidding. It does have to be that. It's a bytes type. So we'll use bytes. That's fine. Hey, Vanny. All right, so putting all this together, we are going to need the Azure storage stuff. We're going to need the storage account, the access key, the container name, the blob name, and then the file to go get. Well, that's the blob name, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so it's actually not that different from the S3 one, which is great news because I created the AZ upload function by copying over the S3 upload. So we're going to just do a little bit of copy pasta here. Upload this file to Azure Storage. And it's going to be AZ upload. And it's going to be what? Storage account, access key. So storage account. Access key. Looks like we don't need region in this case, which is handy. We will, however, need the container name, which is like bucket name, right? Container name, and then the file name. Other than that, pretty much the same thing. Okay. Call this... We'll just replace that every place we see it with storage account. And this one we'll replace everywhere we see it with access key. Region. I won't change because that thing is weird. But I will change bucket name to container name. And upload file is good. So we can knock off region. We can knock off region here. Okay. Obviously, we don't need the AWS imports anymore. Like any of them. We will need bytes, however. While I'm thinking about that. Yeah. I frankly can't believe we went this long without using bytes. In you go. And we'll change the descriptions here. I guess I don't have to say Azure for everything. Upload file remains the same. How's everybody doing tonight? All 15 of you out there. Hardcore. And here, right? Let's go back to that example. Yeah, storage account and storage access key are the two terms. So all caps this. Storage account. Ginge is working on Pwn College. Get that yellow belt. Ganbatte. Who knows what that means? Every anime fan should know what that means. All of this can go, basically. I want to see if I can get away without bytes. Because this read to this right here should be pretty much the same. All right, now, a little copy pasta never hurt anybody. We know that we're going to do these Azure Storage dependencies, so we'll put those right in here. And then what? The client, which is going to be very much like this. This is not mandatory, but okay, so the hashing is something they do. I am not doing that. And then the put block blob. Oh, that's kind of it, huh? Put block blob into put blob. Okay, this stuff seems optional. This is all the stuff that you can do with it, but upload is what we want, right? So I think we're pretty much there. Wow. This might be a really fast feature add. We can do some other stuff if there's time. But we need to make that client. And what did we call it? Did we call it container name? We called it, this was upload file. So it's gonna be upload file. And then here, this was container name. And then this is storage account. Just make sure our variables are named correctly. And then this is the part that we change up, right? We do like this. Except we're not going to do the await with a question mark. I like that they called it res themselves. That wasn't me. I'm not going to do hash either. Await we can do because we're in an async function. And then we remove the var storage account. Is there a keyboard shortcut to all caps something? No. There is, however, I don't need it now, but there is an extension that I used to use all the time that changed up how your selection would work. So by holding Control Shift rather than highlighting everything up to the next quote or whatever, it would honor like camel casing and snake casing, which I thought was kind of cool. So if you did Control Shift, it would highlight up to the underscore. So if you were good about your variable names, it was easy to change stuff. Okay, obviously the file uploaded format is wrong because that's not where it's going to go. So we can play with that a little bit. To do that, I need to make a storage container. Storage. Accounts. Create a storage account. The Boy Scout trick. No. Yes, yes, yes. All this is correct. By the way, if you're doing Azure for real, do not do this unless you know what you're doing. Do not allow blob public access. Right? This is kind of a weird default. This should be defaulted to off, but it isn't. I don't know why. But check this out. When blob public access is enabled, one is permitted to configure container ACLs to allow anonymous access to blobs within the storage account. When disabled, no anonymous access to blobs within the storage account is permitted, regardless of underlying ACL configurations. That should be off by default. You should not have, by default, the ability to have anonymous access. It's such a weird gotcha with Azure. Okay, it looks good. Blob storage. Fine, 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 fine. Fine. Good. Here's your public access. Also fine for now. Don't mess with my crap. All fine, all fine, all fine. Yeah. Yeah. Let's go. One thing I was thinking about was, the truth is OffensiveNotion, obviously I'm biased, but it's kind of a kick-ass code base. Like, the stuff that you can do with it is comparable to other, like, basic C2 stuff, right? Obviously, it has some tricks that other things are a little bit not as good at. Like, no joke, our port scanner, I think, is the fastest one that I know of, other than Ben Richers, which is coming out. The guy who made Ferox Buster, he's coming out with a port scanner, which is going to hose ours. But actually, it's following the same architecture. Anyway, the point was, I have been thinking about ways to get the bones of the C2 out of Notion, right? And actually put in the work and build a team server and a UI, so that if you wanted to use OffensiveNotion as a C2, rather than like the Notion trick that it started as, that you could do that. But I don't know. That's a lot of work. I don't know if there would be interest in it. Because it was a learning project for me and Husky to figure out how to do this stuff, how to do it in Rust. There aren't other C2s that are written to this degree in Rust, though, so that might be interesting. I don't think so. Brute Ratel isn't written in Rust, is it? So this code looks done. I just need to make sure that I have all the information I need. Let's go to the resource. So this is the account, and now I need to make a container. I'm going to do anonymous read access for blobs. Yes, I know. And the reason I'm doing anonymous read for blobs is so that I can have that link, right, to get at the files. Off note. Okay, so now what I want to do basically is upload a thing to see what it looks like when I upload a file, right? So go to downloads. There's no way that I don't have a config.json or something in here. Yeah, this access log is fine. Up you go. Cool. Okay, so it looks like that, right? I think this was an access log. Yeah. This was an access log to do some testing or do some Blue Jupyter stuff, right? So if you all want to check it out, you can. But okay, so that works. And the point was to get the format of the URL that we need to return. So it's going to be something like the container name. Perfect. Don't need the region and the upload file. God, is that really all it is? So container name dot blob dot core dot windows dot net. Ooh. Nope, we have the storage account too. Slash storage account. So yeah, that shall work. Yeah, I think we're pretty much home. The only thing is we now need to integrate this module into OffensiveNotion in general. So to do that, we're going to go to mod.rs. This is where we host all of our mods. And see this? I have all of these in here, including S3 upload. So we're going to add mod AZ upload. It's already auto-completing that for me. And then command type, I have to add a new command type, which is going to be AZ upload, like so. Just like we did S3 upload down there. This is the command type enum, defining all of the different kinds of commands that there are. And then arg handlers, and then this is our matcher. So when it gets the command string, this is where we fix it, right? So we go here and we say AZ upload. Command type AZ upload. Right. And it's still not done because AZ upload is taking the args and the logger. So then we have to, once we've created the command type, we need to send it off to the right handler. So the way that OffensiveNotion does this is it ingests the commands that we send through Notion. It parses the args and the command. So like it splits off the first word, and that's the command, and then it parses the arguments that you give to it after that. Then the first word becomes the command type, one of these enums. So this is how we're handling the type, including unknown, in case anything garbage gets in there. Then, once we know the command type, we pass it and any of the required arguments and the logger or the config options, if we need them, for the agent over to the handler. And that is the same, each of these functions sort of follows the same signature. It takes the same arguments, basically, and then returns a result, which is a string and a box, I think, for the error. So for this, yeah, we just have to add command type AZ upload. If I can't type, yeah, AZ upload handle, and command args and logger. Ooh. That's got to be mute self.args. Oh, come on. What's your problem now? Expected result found an enum or a future. Dot await. Okay. AZ upload. What's your problem? Oh, nope. Don't need that. Right, we have to fix the upload stuff. So stream is the byte stream here. We don't need that. Put block blob. It's just file, I think. Oh, no, this is client. There we go. So we might be able to get away without using bytes if the put block with a body here can take just a vec of U8s, which is bytes anyway, and handle it, which is fine. And that's what we like, because we're just using the built-in read. I like using the standard library whenever possible. Obviously, it's not always. Okay, we're ready to test this thing. So to test it, I'm going to need to get the access key for this. So hold, please, while I remove this from view and go get it. Under security. Access keys. There we go. I'll rotate this key when I'm done. But let's get OffensiveNotion running. Cargo run. Rebuilding here. And because I have Notion already up and running here, I should, once this finishes, see a new, with my config, it's already pre-configured to speak to this, I should see a new agent pop in here once it builds and runs. I do want to clean up some of these build warnings at some point. Hey! There's our agent. Still fun. It's still fun. Okay. So the agent's running. Let's test badness. Ooh. That sucks. Unknown is no good. You don't want to see unknown. That means something's wrong with the error message. Notion out. Yeah. That is incorrect. I don't know why there are parentheses there. That's wrong. The thing with Notion out is that it's this crazy macro that allows me to concatenate both encrypted strings and plain text strings at runtime. So most of the strings that you see here, other than these, are encrypted during compile. And they're only decrypted at runtime. The way that I have to then do string concatenation for some stuff that uses encrypted strings is I literally have to compile them in sequence into a new string. And that's what the Notion out and the logger macros do. But when it doesn't work, when you've messed with the way the macro is supposed to interpret things, you'll get that unknown from litcrypt, which is the library that does the encryption. So that was no bueno. Let's rerun it and kill this agent. Back here. You go. This is cool though, because if we get the Azure, if we get this done, I'm gonna make a new version of OffensiveNotion today and push it with upload features. We've been waiting for this for a while. I need ideas, by the way. We need either a steel or another kind of metal for the next release name. We did Tamahagane for the last one, which is cool. Not blue steel. Maybe Toledo. It's either going to be Toledo or Lungchuan. Or, actually, Lungchuan. Dragonwell Steel. Oh, hey, we got the right error. Missing Azure Storage Access Key. That is what you want to see. Okay. So now let's give it real stuff. So AZ upload. And what is the format of this command? Okay, so the storage account is OffensiveNotion. The access key is going to be super long and annoying. Yes, you're going to see it in plain text. Deal with it. And then container name is, I believe I made it offnote. And then the file name is config.json. Go ahead and upload that. Holy crap, did it work? First try. I'm gonna put that access key there. Not hide. Oh! What up? Well, that was easy. Now, for good measure, let me just turn Defender off here. That was Defender getting turned off. You don't get to deal with me. So then we'll do cargo build. We'll build it for release. Ooh, now we get to compile it for release. That always is a fun time. Oh, you know, I guess I don't need bytes in there. Oh, right. I should be plugging things. So, if you're not familiar with this, we have now launched a new free learning platform at learn.taggart-tech.com. Well, mostly free. So the way that it's going to work is that the introductory courses are always going to be free. And then the more advanced courses will never, ever, ever, ever cost more than $20 USD, and very often will be less than that. The idea with the new platform is that it is meant to be kind of a choose your own roadmap of not just security skills, but IT skills across the board. So right now we have 3 courses. We have one on, and we're also trying to do smaller courses so that you can kind of get through them, get the skills, and then build like Lego blocks piece by piece rather than really long drawn out courses. That's kind of what we're trying to do. That is the plan. So you can check us out at learn.taggart-tech.com. And because you beautiful people are actually here, I will tell you what the plan is for the next course. Oh no, I guess maybe we won't if Teachable is down. Cool. What a cool thing to happen. Is that happening for anybody else? Is Teachable down? Is TCM down? Ooh, it is. Oh, bad night for Heath. Oh. I wonder if that's our fault. I wonder if we brought down the platform. I can't imagine there are many instances and many schools on Teachable that are bigger than TCM. Especially after last weekend. Oh my god. I don't know for sure, but I think Husky now has something like 30,000 students. For practical malware analysis and triage. I have not that. I have something like 10 total. It's working in Europe. Oh, okay. That's fine. I'm okay with getting discriminated against as an American. We've had our time. It's fine. Joe also, yeah, Joe threw his hat into the ring, and I don't know them personally, but the developer of the mobile app testing, and actually they did a cool thing. The developer of the mobile app testing was donating 50 cents from every purchase to Women in Cyber, I think. So that was very cool of them. All right. So we have built OffensiveNotion. So what we're going to do is copy over the not debug release version to downloads on the Windows side. And then... Oh, by the way, okay, so Windows Terminal thing. I'm about to blow everybody's mind. Did you know that Windows Terminal could do this? Oh, of course it's not on the right screen. There it is. Window and tilde. No, it's not crash, it's just minimized. Window and tilde will create a Quake-like terminal of your default, whatever your default profile is. So mine's set to my Ubuntu WSL instance. So that's one. The other thing it can do, and actually to make this work, I have to change the default profile to PowerShell. The other thing it can do, now that I've changed the default profile, oh, interesting. This probably won't work then. Well, it'll work, but it'll create the WSL. So if I wanted PowerShell on one side then, and WSL on the other, it has built-in splitting. Alt-Shift+. Oh, it is working with PowerShell, so that part works. It's interesting. So now I can have two PowerShell, and then I can also do Alt-Shift- to split down. And now I have a multiplexed PowerShell window. Keyboard navigation is Alt and arrow key. I found that when I was futzing around with something at work. I was just like, can this do that? And I right-clicked on this, and I was like, split tab. Yes! Anyway. I thought that was cool. But what we were actually doing was we were running OffensiveNotion. So we've launched it. We've launched the release version of it, which means we won't see any debug information. But do we get a shell? We do. This should be up. This is our Windows instance. Oh, yeah. Awesome. All right, let's basically take the same thing then. Take that same AZ upload command and just make sure it works on Windows. Always something you want to try. Nope. Wrong thing. That's the right thing. So good. Right. And you can see it's in plain text, right? As the... But what I want to do is change that up so that eventually, like, it'll just create a link for you rather than having the link there. But uploads work, so we can exfiltrate data from your target now with both Azure and S3. That ain't so bad. Shut it down with the actual built-in command. And then I'll just go rotate these keys. All right. Like, a shockingly low amount of molding for that. While we're in here, is there anything else that we want to do? Well, let's do the work, right? So we're going to git add az upload, and then git commit am working az upload. Easiest thing I've ever done. So we'll get co back, git merge az upload. Cool. So that's kind of the way that I like to work. I'll do feature branches and then merge into mine, and then I will push that up to GitHub from my branch, and then open a PR to dev for the new feature. And at which point I will allow Husky to take a look at it before we sign off on it. We commit it, we merge it to dev, and then when we're ready for a new version, we will push it to main, then we'll tag main with the new version using semantic versioning, and that is how we do that. So actually, yeah, Dependabot, I know. This is cool, but there's like only so much I can do about this. The Dependabot alert here is that there's a regex crate, which is vulnerable to DOS. Regex 155. Do I even have that? I don't even think we use regex in our dependencies. Yeah, we don't. It's the dependencies of an upstream library, so very little I can do about that. Actually, it's funny. It's in cargo.lock. Cider utils. Cider utils. Oh, that's not the only one. I guess here's the question. If I put regex 155 in my actual cargo requirements, will it stop that from happening? Let's find out. Yeah. I'd love to clear that dependabot alert. Now, this won't show on the main branch, right? This will only show on my branch. Beat it. I know. A fix has already been started. Fine. Now, we are going to compare and pull request from my branch to not main to dev. Pull request. Okay. And I'm going to take that commit. I'm going to go over to my issues. Upload via cloud storage. So this is done. But let's go find the S3 upload commit. Oh, it's building right now, too. S3 upload was here, so we'll take that. Oh, yeah. Now, I won't close the issue until the PR has been accepted into dev. And I don't like doing that. I like having, you know, 2 people with the missile launch keys. So Husky will take a look at that tomorrow morning and give me a go, no-go on that, at which point we'll merge it and release. We'll do a new release tomorrow. And one of the things I love about this process is that I have GitHub Actions that are doing the builds to just do a sanity check on the builds here as well. So it'll build for Linux, Mac, and Windows. And also, if they work, then I'll also have the compiled releases for people if they want to use the precompiled exes or binaries with a config.json to just play with. You can do that. Yeah, GitHub Actions are like my new favorite thing, just because they make so many processes so much simpler, like compiling C# projects that I don't feel like doing in Visual Studio, which is the devil. Let's see. While we're here, contribution guide's pretty much done. Oh, exfil is done. Yeah. This was what we discussed as our fix for this. We can close that. It's important to take care of your open source projects. I mean, 639 stars, that ain't nothing. People do care about this to some degree. My favorite Rust feature, not having to deal with MSVC stuff. Oh my god, I know, right? I essentially consider Visual Studio a virus. Done Stable Ramsey, thank you for the follow. Yeah, I love VS Code. I cannot stand Visual Studio. I will basically open it only when I have to for .NET reasons at this point, or to do something like create an evil MSI. Like I have to do for RTO. What else do we have on here? De-invoke, that's a long ways off. Lateral movement, that might be fun. I just started Rasta Mouse as C2 and C# in a boy's Visual Studio rub on someone who uses Vim for everything. Ugh. Ugh. So, funny story about that. I was talking to Husky, he was writing something, and he could not for the life of him get something to build as a standalone application. Was it a single file application, I think is the .NET terminology. And like Visual Studio just would not let him do it. And I have to tell you, when I have to write in C#, I don't use Visual Studio. I use VS Code and the .NET command line. Because I'm broken like that. Now, obviously, there are certain things you cannot do that with, right? Like, as soon as you start using NuGet packages and things like that, I think you have to be in a reasonable IDE that knows what you're doing with those dependencies. VS Code does okay with it, but the point was that by using just the .NET build command line options, he was able to do what he needed to do, whereas the IDE wouldn't let him. So, be aware of that. Potential bug where agent panics if attempting to self-delete. Interesting. I would like to see that happen. Might be a bug when Linux and maybe macOS agent attempts to self-destruct, but does not have write access to the directory to be able to manipulate the file. But does not have write access to the directory to be able to. How did it get there in the first place? Okay, so let's see if we can chase this bug. If we'll do a cargo build release. So we'll use Linux, right? Does not have write access to the directory to be able to manipulate the file. Why would that be? Why would that be possible? How would the agent have gotten there? Okay, so we'll try to reproduce it though. So we're going to CP target release OffensiveNotion to, we'll just move it to the home directory, right? There it is. Call ontest, and then we'll CP config.json to ontest as well. Hey, Digital Warhead. Good to see you. All right, so we're gonna see. Let's see. What we want to do is remove write permissions from the directory. So we're going to chmod 06. No. 7. 55. ON test. 7 is wrong. It should be read and execute. That's 5. So 555 ON test. Don't you use the plus minus syntax for chmod? No, I don't. Because I'm hardcore. I use the octal syntax. I don't know why. I just learned it first that way, and so that's why I do it. Yeah, I know I could have done like... Oh, actually, here's why. Because I always get U and O messed up. Because in my head, O is owner, not others. That's kind of counterintuitive for me. So the octal just makes sense because it's positional. Yeah, if we had done that with the other syntax, it would have been chmod, like, U minus W. ON test. You know what else is positional? All right. I will do this circular guy. Which you have to pick, at least I have to pick upside down. Because it is upside down. Look, the keyway is like wrong. Okay. I think this is the bottom of the keyway. You picked up 6 of TCM's courses. Well, thank you for your purchase. I really hope you enjoy them too. And thank you for recognizing that I am not Matt. That seems to be a real point of confusion for folks. My first name does not exist. I'm a mononym like Prince. No, it's Michael. But everyone, including Joe Helly, thinks that my name is Matt. And I, at this point, can't tell if he's trolling me or not. All right, so here we go. Pin 1, nothing. Pin 2, ooh, that was good. 3. Not the most comfortable picking position in the universe, but... Come on. Fine. Oh, it's almost ready to go. Zero reset on those. I think I overset one of them. All right, there's 1. There's 2. Now, this is single pin picking, which is, you know, a skill. Might have to call me Matt. Well, you won't be alone, Digital Warhead. But, you know, Ginge, I know that you're preparing for a physical. Don't bother with this. Get yourself a nice Bogota rake. And call it a day. Watch this not work now. I don't like the zip breaking. That feels even more like cheating. Yeah, this guy's being a pain for me tonight. Yeah, these are Southwards. I like them. I like them a lot. Not the greatest viewing angle. If we keep doing this, I will get another mount for a hand cam. I even have a vise that I use for locks sometimes. Nope. It's like, what's the best way to do this for the camera? Come on. Come on, Master Lock, work with me here. We have to give Ginge his 5,000 points worth. Yeah, obviously I'm a lefty too. What is not setting here? There's only 4 pins in this. Two. Three. Ah, there we go. There's 1. I think I'm sliding off of pin number 2. Right, moving off camera just for a moment. I don't have a key. I just needed a slightly saner angle. All right, let me try this with top of keyway. I swear I usually do this one with bottom, though. But maybe not. Oh, God. Seriously? Ah, yes. Choice of torsion tool or tension tool really matters. Oof. Ooh, I need to build back up the lockpicking callus. Hey, GoPro. What's up? God, I'm sorry I'm so sweaty. That's not pleasant. I am a face for radio tonight. Alright, so we're chasing this bug in OffensiveNotion that Husky mentioned. And let's see. We want to go into ON test now that we've changed it up, right? Yeah, there we go. So you can see we don't have write permissions. Fish is telling us that we don't have write permissions on this. So the idea was if we run OffensiveNotion here, all right, it fires off correctly. GoPro, how you doing tonight? Anyone here is not following GoPro Slow-Yo. First of all, you're missing a trick, but also you should. Along with our other friends from the hack list. Maintained by the one and only GoPro Slowyo. Gotta write some AD syncing code. That sucks. Ugh. All right, so everything seems to be working, right? If we do an ls, we'll get a talk back here because we can read the directory. Now, according to Husky, if I try the self-destruct function, which self-destruct is kind of wild, what it does is it overwrites the memory with junk. So basically, it just removes the path to the running agent. Well, actually, that's what it does on Windows. On Linux, it just removes the file. So and it says, you see how it says shutdown agent. So basically, rather than shutting it down here, which wouldn't work, what we're gonna do is in main.rs, it will look to see if that was the command that got run, and then kill it from there. Right, so if we're all the way down here. Right? Yes. We're watching for shutdowns and self-destructs as command types, and we knock those down. So let's see what happens. Self-destruct. So this should delete the file. But of course it can't, right? Because we put it in a thing that doesn't have write access. Okay, so it does panic, which is no good, right? I mean, it errors, but we never want it to panic because we always want output to the agent. So we have to handle that failure. I was saying earlier, we try to handle every failure gracefully. So remove file, right? Returns a result. Consequently, we're going to match remove file. Oh yeah, look at that. Lazy code. This is lazy code, right? That question mark is no good. Never use a question mark in OffensiveNotion because yeah. So we're gonna copy and paste this. Whoa, Digital Warhead, thank you for the resub. 5 months. How time flies. And Babalka Sec, thank you so much for the follow. Okay, so this return here, we are going to put that in the Windows code itself, and then we'll also say, why is that tabbed in so far? All right, whatever. If it's an okay, we don't actually care what happened. We'll just return Notion out, right? But if it's an error, we will also return Notion out. Couldn't delete. We're killing the process anyway. And again, because this is Notion out, these strings are encrypted. Need a comma there between those two match arms. Notion out! Exclamation point. Very good. Okay. Try that again. We'll do... We'll chmod 755 here. And then we'll cargo build again. That's a nice edge case that we were able to fix. We'll copy the target offensive notion over to ON test. And then chmod 555 this thing. Okay, we'll run offensive notion again. Later. And self-destruct. Oh, you're going to InfoSec campout? Say hi to Brian from Taggart. Tell him I said hi. That'll be a lot of fun. It's very wholesome. All right, there we go. That worked. Couldn't delete the killing process anyway. I can't, like, you'd have to do something wacky like that to make that happen, right? You'd have to somehow lose write permissions to the thing that you wrote the agent to in the first place, but whatever. I think that's a reasonable compromise there. All right, later days ON test. That's cool. So now... And the PR is already open, so I'll just leave that open and Husky can review that as well. But... I can then say this was fixed in... Ooh, close comment. Yeah. Is Teachable still down? Looks like yes. What a great night to be streaming and trying to plug the Institute. Execute assembly is like, oof. I don't know if that's going to be. I don't know if that's going to be possible. We've wanted to put that in as a feature forever, but the trick is that in order to do it, you have to then host the entire CLR, the Common Language Runtime, which runs C# code or F# code, inside of Rust, which we're not entirely. So it's like it's possible, kind of, but the implementations that we've seen are designed to essentially compile C# code from Rust. We have never seen anything that hosts the CLR essentially as an environment that you can then run assemblies from. I'm sure like it's, you know, possible from a technical point of view, but that is a huge lift. That's a huge lift. Now rev to self we actually have. Make token, technically we did this kind of. So we actually have get system. And Do they mean actual assembly or bytecode instructions? Oh, sorry. So that's very funny that you asked that question. Neither is the answer. In a really weird twist of terminology, assembly is the term for a .NET executable file, as well as, like x86 assembly. And the reason it's called an assembly, it's, I think, to distinguish it from a PE, right? A portable executable. Because it does require the CLR to function, which at the end of the day is just a ton of DLLs, right? But they have to be there. But yeah, so for token stuff, we actually have get system working. It's actually kind of cool to see happen. Let me fire up an administrative PowerShell. Here comes the UAC prompt. Killing my window. Well, actually, let me rebuild it and move it over. Yeah. It's confused you already have shellcode execute. Yeah, the shellcode execute is fun. With inject remote and inject self. But no, that the execute assembly. So the reason why you need that, just from a red team, like a pen testing perspective, what's that for? There are a bunch of tools that have been written in C# to avoid being written in PowerShell. That's kind of where things went, because people were writing things in PowerShell, then AMPC got better, and then PowerShell detections got better. And so rather than writing things in PowerShell, malware authors and therefore red teamers started writing things in C#. And running that code either like because one of the cool things you can do in PowerShell is you can host like .NET stuff. It is just .NET under the hood, right? So by just writing the assembly in C# or F# if you hate yourself, don't do that. Don't think you're going to be cool by writing it in F#. I know, I tried. It's not worth it. F# is like, I want the language to be cool, and it just isn't. All right, let's fire up this administrative shell. OffensiveNotion is up, and there it is. Notice that we have the root icon, right? Now we'll do a who am I. So if you're ever curious how to do a get system, it's actually pretty straightforward. Right now I'm just me. Nothing interesting there. Here's how it works. So first thing you want to do is you get the process win logon. And you get its PID. You open the process, you get the handle to that process. With that handle, you can then call, these are all Windows API function calls, and they're grayed out because I'm on Linux right now, because we do conditional compilation for OffensiveNotion. You open the process token. That's the thing that has the system token, right? So you open the process token. Then you call duplicate token, a thing that exists for reasons. You duplicate token, you save it in wherever you're going to save the duplicate token, which is a handle. The way that the Windows API works, as I've learned the hard way, right, is that it doesn't return anything. Like functions, you're used to returning values. The Windows API doesn't return anything. What it does is it takes two flavors of arguments, input arguments and output arguments. The input arguments are data coming in, and then the output arguments are pointers to the handle that you're going to save data in, basically. That is how it works, because C, I guess. But duplicate token, our duplicate token, and then our favorite, which is impersonate logged on user, which it just takes the token, right? And what is wild about this is that impersonate logged on user, look, it only takes a single argument. That's it. So once you have WinLogon's token duplicated, you just call impersonate logged on user with it. What will happen is that your current process will then get that token, and then it will be marked as an impersonation level, right? So what's cool about that is that your original token is still stored as part of the process, which is why after you're done doing your system stuff, you can call rev to self. So after that's done, you can call rev to self, and it's literally just the revert to self function, right? There's a revert to self function built into the security part of the Windows API. And what that does is say to Windows, like, okay, hey, the process that you're dealing with right now, strip it of its impersonated token, and it's just going to go back to being whoever it is. That's a little bit easier to see in the source code. And you might be thinking, but Taggart, the Windows API source code isn't open source. That is true. But you know what is open source? React OS. React OS is an attempt to essentially reverse engineer the NT kernel for an open source operating system. And because it is so good, it is very helpful to understand what is going on at a code level with parts of the kernel. So take a look at this. So revert to self, right? Doesn't even take any arguments. Set NT current thread. So it's actually thread based, not I should have clarified. It's not process based. It's thread based. So thread NT thread impersonation token. It's getting a token, right? Size of handle, and then that's it. It just nulls out the impersonation token. That's all it does. There's like, your thread has a slot for an impersonation token, which is empty until you do impersonate logged on user, at which point that slot gets filled. Yeah. If you want to have some fun, go check out the React OS docs. Pretty cool. And by the way, play with React OS. I've never spun up a React OS VM, but I should, because it's an NT kernel that is open source. You can run exes on it. It's wild. Okay. Anyway, so to prove the point, let's go back to Notion here and just run get system. Oh right, GoPro. I meant to ask you about that. You're using Nix. Tell us more about Nix, because you're using the OS, not just the package manager, right? I am now system. God, I love this so much. I really like the idea too. I liked it so much that I was... See? Now I'm system. Now I can do stuff. And the thread doesn't pause or anything, which I thought was going to be the problem. Nope, doesn't care. It's fine being system. And then rev to self. And by the way, because this is OffensiveNotion, all I have to do is I can uncheck this and it'll rerun that command again and re-enter it below it. See? Now, from a threat hunting perspective, what does that look like in the logs? Well, let me go get the event viewer up. Uh, so special logon for system. When was that? 6:36? Yeah. Let's add Vappy. No, that ain't it. There should be a logon for system somewhere here. A local group. Yeah, OffensiveNotion is going to enumerate groups, right? I don't think that you see it, really, that plainly. Except for here, maybe. The 4624. Where you have an impersonation level. Right? Impersonation level is impersonation. Right? For system. Now, that's not necessarily super weird, though. But you might want to check the process ID. Okay. So it's a little bit tricky. It's not impossible to see. But... And once you do stuff with system, then all bets are off, right? All right, let's shut this thing down. Yeah, so what GoPro's talking about, NixOS, is it basically is focused on reproducible builds, both from an operating system perspective, but also from a package perspective. And to the point where you can define builds for packages for basically any programming language and build them in the Nix method, which means that they're, you know, predictable and reproducible in a way that would speak to the integrity of a package, right? And also, yes, if a package works on one machine, it will also work on another. No undeclared dependencies. So this also solves a lot of problems with things like Python, right? Where you end up being in requirements.txt hell. It's very cool. In fact, this is a Python example. We use the Nix shell to create an environment. Also, how cool is ASCII Cinema? All right, so now Python's available. Like, that's it. So imagine if, you know, virtual env were available for every language and also way easier to use. That's like, from the programming language standpoint, that's kind of what Nix is promising. And that's exciting. From an operating system standpoint, imagine, you know, not having to worry about your package manager so much as a build process, if that makes sense. It's almost like a newer way to a newer approach to what Gentoo does. I don't know if GoPro you would agree with that characterization. Containerizing the OS and hardware. Yeah, that's a good way to do it too. Because the kernel is immutable, right? Or the kernel is immutable. Like the root of the OS is immutable. Rootless is the term I was going for, and I don't know why I couldn't get there. You do nix install and change it based on a defined config file. Okay, that is cool. All right, so let's see. Maybe a while before this, we did actually discover the API call patterns required to do token creation and impersonation a la Cobalt Strike. Right. I want to make sure I understand exactly what he means here, because I think I get it, but... Oh, it's run as, right? Run as... net only, right? Windows manages... Okay. These data structures. The documentation, by the way, for Cobalt Strike is good. You should read it. What would it take to get Husky to start streaming? What? I'm not good enough anymore? No, we've actually talked about it. He comes on this stream a couple times a year. That's not really his jam. He did just make YouTube partner. I think he likes recorded, curated content. I'll let him speak for himself, but I don't know. I'll tell you what, he takes really good care of his mental health, and right now he has like a very good work-life balance, and I, for one, do not want to upset that. Right, login session for credential material. So create a new logon session with credential material. Prior to copy your current token and substitute the default login session for the new one. So basically, you get the logon session. Make token. So beacon's run is similar to default behavior as the run as. What about net only? Beacon has something like this too. It's make token command. Make a token command uses the logon user function in Windows with the logon32 logon new credentials flag. This API creates a logon session from the specified credentials, copies your access token, associates the this is a tutorial. Copies your access token, associates the new logon session with the new access token, and makes this new access token available. Beacon then impersonates this new token. Sorry, it's kind of the opposite of a flat pack in a lot of ways. What Ginge and GoPro were describing, because flat packs, the whole thing is that they're opaque, right? Whereas the idea with the nix install script is you know exactly what's happening. It's just that it's reproducible the same way every time. Okay, so let's see. Log on user. And then creates a logon session with the specified credentials. Copies your access token. What does logon user need? Username, domain, password. Because he had logon user. Right. Username, domain, password. And he was doing this with the Win API, wasn't he? No, he was actually doing this correctly with Windows Core. Okay. So he's doing logon user, logon new credentials. And then if there's a username, if there's no username, it just gets the process token for the token. Oh, right. So there were like two parts to this, because he was trying to use SC shell, but make token is really the first part here. You have a new token that is locally indistinguishable from your previous token. When you use Beacon's get UID, you get back the current user. But what happens when you interact with a network resource? Windows authenticates with the credentials you specified to make token, because logon session in the current access token references the credentials you provided. Interesting. Okay. That's why I'm finally understanding what this was for. So, because SC shell, it was meant for lateral movement. So if you had a user that you wanted to move laterally as, but you didn't want to necessarily like elevate, that's what this was for. But we couldn't, for whatever reason, we couldn't make the token part work. I might have to leave this for another time. And actually, I would want to do it with Husky if I could, because this was mostly his work. So, I think we'll leave the OffensiveNotion work there for tonight. Yeah. So, all going according to plan, tomorrow we will have a new release that will allow both AZ, Azure uploads, and S3 uploads with pretty simple commands. So basically and I prefer the Azure workflow just a little bit because I hate AWS. But for Azure, basically you do AZ upload, the storage account, the access key, the container name, and the file name that you want to upload, and it'll just go do it and return the URL to the publicly accessible resource. That's the trick. You want to make your container publicly accessible just so you can get access to it easily. I guess you don't have to, but it would be nice to, right? Otherwise, you can get a lease or whatever for it. And then S3 upload, same deal. It just takes one extra argument, which is the region. AWS access key, secret access key, the region, the bucket name, and then the file name. The same deal. You're able to upload to cloud storage right from OffensiveNotion with these two new commands. But yeah. All right. A little bit of a shorter stream tonight, but I think since it's 1,000,000 degrees, it's all right for me. That'll do it. Now, I don't see anybody who's streaming right now, but again, I will plug the hack list for anybody who wants to check out the rest of the InfoSec streamers. I will be back on Saturday doing some... Oh, no! Special stream on Saturday. Very exciting. We're going to be doing another exhibition stream for Backdoors and Breaches. So, if you want to see what the Backdoors and Breaches games that we do monthly on Fridays are all about, then you can come check us out on Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific. My friends and I are going to be playing 2 rounds. Husky will be there, actually, for those of you who are the Husky stands, the Husky pack, and a few other InfoSec rock stars as well. We're going to play some games and use some of our modifications to the game that are unique to the way that we play, including, in this case, we're going to do classes. So, depending on the class that you choose, you get different bonuses when you're playing the game. And it's a great way to learn incident response and blue team InfoSec stuff. So, hope to see you on Saturday. But until then, friends, please be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and of course, happy hacking. We'll see you next time.